I'm a professional microphone user.
It's 5:13.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start.
Hey gang, welcome to the Black Clover panel at Matsuricon. My name is Briner. I play Luck.
I am Brandon McInnis, and I play Fandom.
So gosh, I guess we'll pretty much be doing this Q&A style.
Yeah. Maybe we can start off perhaps with your consent, of course.
Ah, yes.
We can just talk about like our experience with Black Clover. Like how does it feel for you, Justin, when you walk into the Funimation and you look at your schedule on the little computer that we finally have a computer now at the front desk. It's really nice. It's really, you just like search your name and you're like, I'm going here. It's great. Before it was just on pieces of paper, and they weren't always updated.
Right.
So sometimes you'd be like, oh wait, no, we have to go. What's happening? But this is great. But when you walk in and you're like, oh, Black Clover, what goes through your head? Walk me through that experience.
It's always, Luck, and maybe you as well. I know that the bulls sort of are in it, and then they're out of it for a little bit, and then they pop back in. So I'm always like, well, what's happening this time? Where am I? Who am I? Where am I? What's going on? But yeah, I know that I will certainly have to laugh and be joyful, and tap into my bloodlust a little bit.
Yeah. I always love recording on Finral and seeing Luck and hearing you, because he's so joyful, yet so savage.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, ooh, don't mess with it, which I think is a perfect, like, I think it's great because of what happened in Portland.
Right.
We're gonna talk about this because I need to brag. I need to brag on you for a second.
Let
I
me
wasn't
know.
even there, but I have to tell this story to everyone here because I don't think you guys understand how much of a badass Justin Briner is. Yeah. Seriously. He was with Michael, and who else was there?
David Wald, Jade, a handful of others.
Yeah, okay, so you were there. I mean, I don't know what, like, I know I'm telling the story. You were there,
Sure,
but,
yeah.
But would you like to tell the story? No, I just, but let me interject
Okay,
at some point, because they need to understand how much of a badass you are.
So, all right. Looking at me, you can clearly tell. Hey, hush now. You can clearly tell I'm a badass. But we were at.
You don't even know.
We were at a convention in Oregon, Portland, and we were out to dinner. We did that. We went to like an ice cream joint. It was getting late, so we called an Uber back home to the hotel, and everyone's kind of filing in, and someone rides up on their bicycle and stops. It stops at us, and basically sort of like mutters, not really loudly, but to me, I'm the only one still out in the car. Like, everyone give me $50 or I'll stab you.
Oh, I didn't know that. I was like, I'll beat you up, but does it stab?
Yeah.
Oh, you're so badass.
Oh my god.
And like, at that, I'm like, what is happening? Dude, you gotta go. Dude, back off.
See? Dude, you gotta go.
And I don't think he expected that, because it took a second to be like, well, no. So I'm like, all right, back off, dude. We're gonna go. I get in the car, and he tries to follow in, or like he won't let us close the door. So eventually, like it's becoming an issue. I grab him real quick. I get him off balance, and I throw him out of the car.
Oh, let me interject. My turn. Yeah, no. And from what I've heard, it wasn't just like Justin says, like, oh, I put him off balance, and threw him out, right? No, apparently Michael says he pulled him into the car and then like fell on his ass, moved, like flipped over a few times, like.
At which point I'm like, all right, we need to go.
The poise.
The Uber driver's like, oh, I thought he was with you. I'm like, no, we need to go right now. We're getting mugged, kind of. And meanwhile, this guy's like spitting on our window and yelling something, and I don't know.
Was he holding up like a mask in his hands, like you broke my friend's jaw?
Yeah, you hurt my friend.
It's a mask, like, woo! But yeah, so if you are ever in trouble and Justin Briner's there, he will save you. Well, maybe, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I will. I'll leap to action.
Justin Briner, right? So I think you're perfectly cast as Locke.
I appreciate that. Maybe I don't give myself credit enough for
You don't.
the bloodlust.
So bad. Yeah, Black Clover's really fun. It's a really enjoyable show. I don't know about you, but when I first got cast, I was trying to figure out what this show was.
Right.
I'm like, what? I mean, you do that with a show. If the director comes to you and like, hey, I want to put you in the show, you're like, great. Of course. Like the first thing you say is absolutely, and like whatever you need. And the second thing you ask is, what is it? What's it about? You know, and at some point in the conversation, you ask, well, how long is it going for? And I think, was it 52 episodes that we originally heard? So we're like, ooh, a year of work. Oh boy, that's great. That doesn't happen too often. All right. And then it just got extended, and we just kept going.
Another year.
We're on episode 80 something now. I'm like, woo. But it's all when you do a show like that that runs for so long, it's great as an actor because many times we're with these characters for 12 weeks.
Yep.
You know, and then bye. I'm like, oh, we miss you. We just started.
Right, we just said hello.
We just said hello. But with Black Clover, like, we're with these characters. I feel very connected to Finn. You probably feel very connected to Locke too, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And like we've been through some stuff, y'all. Like Finral's not the same as he was when this ride started.
Yeah.
No.
His hair's all different.
Got great skin down. It's all fancy. But it's really, I don't know. It's a very fulfilling show to work on.
It's cool. It's this really, it's kind of still very new shonen that's just hit the ground running, and I'm excited to see where it goes from
Yeah.
here. It's been so cool.
I also feel like it's gotten a lot more popular, specifically in the last 6 months.
I think so. Yeah.
You know, I mean, more and more people come up to my table and they're like, Finral, he's a man. I'm like, oh, wow, a lot of Finral love. Oh, wow. You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's on TV right now. It's you can tell your friends confidently, like you got 80 episodes you can watch, and just and more to come. So yeah, it's awesome to see how it's sort of exploding right now.
In a sea of shows that end on cliffhangers,
Yes.
this one hasn't ended yet. No, hard sell. But, yeah, no, it's fun, and I think the dynamic of the Black Bulls is also
Oh, I love the
really
Bulls.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Finral's sort of, he was the punching bag. He's still the punching bag, kind of.
Yeah,
For Yami,
right?
at least. No one else. I mean, everyone else is like, oh, Finral, you're cool. But Yami's like, I need to go to the bathroom. Portal boy. What does he say in the Japanese? I love what he says. I don't know if he says it in English, but he's like, golden time. It's Yami's golden time. And he goes to the bathroom. Like, really? That's the line in Japanese? Golden time. Like, wow. Okay. It's a special private time. And it's not just going to the bathroom. It's like taking a dump. It is, which is like, oh wow, that's such a little character element there.
Wash your hands before I go through the portal, please.
You know, I've never seen it. It has shown the bathroom,
Yeah.
and I've never seen a sink in there. I could be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall a sink.
I've never seen a sink, I think, either yet.
Right?
No.
Ooh, we need a moist towelette, ladies and
Oh, what
gentlemen.
a world. I know Austin's a stinky boy, but
Yummy. Keep it clean.
Yum.
Literally.
Yucky.
No, like Jesus.
didn't see this turn, huh?
But yeah. Do you have any burning questions?
Yeah, love to. Please, yeah, right up front. Let's start.
So if each of your characters were to spend a day with another one of your characters, what would that be like, and with who?
Whoever is paired with Luck would be getting beat up. So, like, I don't want to put him with Deku because he already beats himself up. Let's put him. He died. Well, he literally. Let's say Nico. They both have a lust for life. They both have exuberance. They both know what they're about. Nico would still be beat up, but it's all good.
Let's see. Who am I going to choose? Anyone know the show Gamers?
Yes.
Gamers. Okay, great. All right. So Keita Amano, doesn't have a lot of self-confidence. Actually, he has none. He has negative self-confidence. He like sucks other people's self-confidence away from them because he's just this, anyway. But he just wants to be loved and accepted, and I feel like Finral could help him with that. You know, I feel like they could bond over that, and Kata Amno would really look up to Finral, and Finral would be like, it's okay, love yourself, you know, and it'd be so wholesome.
Oh, I love that.
With the top knot, and then we'll come back for you.
All right, so I have like one quick question and one also actual quick question.
Two quick questions.
So, number one, what's your kill count at? And number two, since Luck is being possessed, are you going to also be voicing that?
That's spoilers.
Hey, it's happening now. It's happening.
Okay.
If you're not
I believe so. I don't know. Ideally, I'll be the last one to know. That's
That's true.
unfortunately,
Welcome to acting, everyone.
Once I get in that room, it'll be like, hey, this is happening. Oh, okay.
This
What?
is your stuff.
Well, oh.
Now recording.
All right, let's hit it. The kill count is large and in charge.
Oh.
Well, I wonder if Luck has killed anyone. He's always like, I'll beat you up, but
I think he's come close a couple
he's probably
Yeah.
really-
but never actually full.
Huh. When will he take his first life?
Recent episodes, he almost did. The ones that aired on Toonami, it was almost a group kill, but
Oh yeah.
that was sad.
I don't think Finral doesn't really have any offense. I think Finral's kill count is 0. And he's fine with
Yeah.
that.
For the best. Yes.
What do you guys think about Gordon?
He's awesome. I like trying to pick out what it is he says.
Yeah.
Like, what was that, buddy? Oh, Gordon.
I mean, what I love about Gordon is the subtitles still show up
Yeah.
in Japanese. And I can read them most of the time. I mean, unless there's like weird kanji in them. So it's really funny to like see it pop up. And it's very distracting because I want to listen to Mike. I want to listen to Mike's line. I don't care what he's saying. I just want to hear Mike say it. So there's always that tension. What?
No, Gordon is the backbone of the Black Bulls. Without him, it all crumbles.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Character design too is so funny. Oh, yes.
I have two kind of quick questions. One is, what's your favorite like moment or aspect about your character in particular? And then also, what would you like to see happen with your character in the future?
Oh. No, I was thinking. Yeah, I have no idea. I really loved, and this involves Spinroll, the triple date episode. Because it was so much fun, first of all, for those three to be together, like, all right, out on the town. And Luck had such a funny way of like flirting, not flirting, being like, hey, my friend here has mortal wounds, you want to see him? Assuming, of course, the lady sitting across from him would be like, oh, cool.
Bro, awesome.
Heck yeah. And yet at the end, when everyone's sort of striking out, Luck is the one who's like, let's go outside and hang out a little bit.
Like, it's so chill, so natural.
So that was just like, I don't know what I expected to come from that, but that was perfect. It was so perfect.
I think my favorite part so far with Finral was when, I hope this isn't a spoiler. There's a scene, if you've seen it, you'll know it. That way it won't be a spoiler. Okay, there's a scene where there is someone that he would have, oh gosh. Where's the line where you're like, this is a spoiler, this is not a spoiler? Okay. There's someone that he is supposed to end up in a long-term relationship with.
Oh.
You all know what I'm talking about? Okay, I just don't want to spoil this one. Right. And for a certain reason, that's not going to happen. But that person lets him know that they wish that he was that person.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important defining moment for Finral, because he has very low self-esteem. He feels like, oh, I don't have any offensive magic. I'm not, I'm not useful. I'm not important. I'm not whatever. And this person says, I think you're like a wonderful magic knight because you're nice.
Yes.
And he's like, huh? What? And I just think it's like a really important moment that Finral finds some value in himself that it is something that he feels comfortable with and feels good at, and that's being a nice person. Oh, wholesome, y'all. So wholesome. In the back.
Yeah, way back.
There. You. Favorite line of what?
It's gonna take me a second. Do you know?
Just as in the show? At all?
Yeah, like your favorite Finral line, or a line you said as your character. Recently, Luck was accepted into the Magic Knights, and one of his friends was not. So he took that opportunity to really kind of dig his heels in and be like, "Oh, you're so weak, aren't you? When I get back, I'm gonna be way stronger." So I just love it. I love him punching down at everyone. He's such a, I can't say it, but you know what he is. You know? I love him.
My favorite line is, it's no surprise that Finral is always trying to get a date. He's like always asking girls out all the time. And my favorite line of his is when he's trying to get a girl to go to coffee with him. Hey, you want to go to coffee? Let's go get a coffee. She's like, I have kids. He goes, bring your kids. It's so wholesome.
Yes.
He's so accepting.
More the
He's
merrier.
like, you seem like a great person. Your kids are awesome. Bring them along. It'll be great.
I love that. That's awesome.
She's probably, if she has all these kids, it's probably difficult. She has to like manage their schedules, their school schedules.
Yeah.
Maybe they play soccer. Maybe they're in sports. Maybe they have dance lessons. Maybe she just really wants a coffee. She needs to treat herself.
Exactly. And Finral is willing to work around.
Yeah, that's fine. He's got a gift card. He's got her covered.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Who's your favorite character from Black Clover that isn't a black hole?
Okay, not a bull. I really love. Who's the? It's in, I believe, Yuno's team. The guy with the Klaus, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I love him. He's such a. He's just always over it, no matter what. I just think that cracks me up. I don't know why.
I really like. Okay, this is. Alright, so Fuegoleon.
Yep.
Just the appearance, the whole.
So good.
It's just
And because he's voiced by Michael.
working. Yeah, maybe that. But he is also voiced by my fiance, so that's. I'm biased. This much.
Yes.
Without spoilers, how far ahead have you guys read into the story?
I've not read ahead, but I know things that are coming, which is exciting.
Oh right. Yeah, I feel like such a bad actor. You know, like.
No.
Okay, so I haven't read ahead either.
Mhm.
My knowledge of future events is consigned to what I've read off of, like, the Fandom Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically that. Otherwise, we're not any further ahead than like the Japanese show. We still record pretty much like the same week, but the manga I know is considerably further, like a couple arcs ahead at least.
No, I kind of like that. The
Yeah.
Simuldub process means that we don't have pretty much any more information than you do until we go in for the session, and then the episode's up like a week later.
It's amazing.
It's insane. So we are on the same journey that you are, essentially, with these characters. We don't know what's gonna happen. We were like, so give me the deeds. I'm like, I don't know. So, but it's kind of fun because I feel like we're all in this together with the story. So.
Right there.
So my question is around doing Simuldubs. So being actors and doing those Simuldubs, is there any, when Funimation started doing that, was there any added extra intensity for you guys to be constantly in the booth recording those episodes? Or is it just like a normal day for you? Or is there any sort of difference from that versus a show that has already ended and you're just doing the dub?
I would say that things got a little more, you had to be more communicative with your time off, I would say.
Yeah. Yep.
Like in advance, because things didn't change so much regarding like the way we work the session, because we're still recording the same way, but sometimes we have last minute inquiries, like, can you come in tomorrow? There's this thing that has to be done immediately. And you're like, oh, okay, all right, sure. That didn't really happen before Simuldubs, where it was like, oh, we'll just get it next time, it's fine, we got it. But yeah, sometimes there are some last minute things, and we have to communicate like our time off way in advance because of the broadcast schedule.
Yeah, it definitely presents challenges in taking care of yourself and trying to prevent burning yourself out on working every week. It can be really tough to know that, like, if I get sick, then I can't work this week, and then that's one paycheck away from having it. Otherwise, basically when I got started with Funimation, they had just started the Simuldub initiative, so it's mostly all I've ever known. The difference for me is doing like a DVD dub, like you said, where a show's already finished, you get to script it all, and do it all at once. With this, you may be in an episode for 5 hours, and then next week you're there for 10 minutes, and you don't really know what's happened in the meantime. It's just, it's a lot of taking care of yourself and taking care of your voice, and just trying to stay in the marathon.
That's true. Something that we don't talk about a whole bunch at Funimation, but we should, and I actually want to do like a get together, like a little powwow on this, is vocal health.
Yes.
And it's super important. It's so important because at Funimation we have had injuries. We've had straight up vocal cord injuries at Funimation, because the properties that we record on, like we record Dragon Ball. I don't know if you've seen Dragon Ball, but there's a lot of yelling.
Yeah.
So can you imagine going into a booth and every line that you're recording for 4 hours is just yelling? Every line is yelled. How do you think your voice is going to feel after that?
Gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
It's rough. So we have to learn how to take care of our voices, and hopefully we'll have some initiatives coming down. Reason I talk about this, and the reason I'm passionate about this is I went to a vocal health conference in LA recently that was put on by a laryngologist, like an actual vocal cord surgeon, and she was awesome. And we had a lot of discussions, and so I'm going to try to talk about what I learned there with other actors and stuff. But it's rough because we don't start working at Funimation or go to any gig and get a handbook of like vocal health. Not a thing, right? We're working with our instrument in the only way we know how, which is to just use it. And as actors, we want to do a good job. We want to give you the best performance we possibly can give. So if that involves screaming at the top of our lungs, we're going to scream at the top of our lungs. But oh wait, if we give you 100%, we're only going to be able to give you 100% for like 5 minutes. And we have 4 hours to get through. So we have some unique challenges that we have to work with. And you look at like Asta, Dallas Reed. Oh my God. That guy has like vocal cords of titanium.
Yes.
It's insane. I have such respect for him. And that's gotta be rough as an actor.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know how I got off on that tangent. But.
No, that's awesome. I really do hope that it's more education around that kind of surfaces, because it's important.
Yeah.
We're not sprinting. We're here for the long run.
I have to share with you Straw Foundation.
Okay.
So it'll be great.
You
Just
heard it
your
here,
vocal
folks.
health technique. It's soothing.
Oh, please. I love that. Yes.
So if Fimro had the ability to control universal magic, what kind of crossover would you personally want to see with the Black Bulls?
Universal magic, like into other worlds?
Yeah.
I never thought about that. I think it would be really funny to put the Black Bulls in the My Hero universe.
Yes!
I think it's really funny. Can you imagine like All Might and Yami?
Incredible.
Those are different personalities, voiced by the same person. I love it. Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, right there.
What is your guys' favorite grimoire from the Black Clover universe, not including your own?
Oh gosh, what are the good powers? I really love oh gosh, it's escaping me. The painter, right? And then like the magic knight.
Yes.
He was weird, but I loved it. I love him.
I like the Wizard Kings.
Oh yeah.
It's like, hold up. They're like, that's my choice. Yes.
Out of all your characters, who would you cosplay as?
Finral, hands down, Finral. Finral.
You'd be really good.
I could actually do it, I feel.
Maybe like Emil from Yuri on Ice.
What? Yes.
Yeah. Got the same look.
You.
Okay, so you were talking a little about like voice acting, and so like, is there some sort of process that you do, or is there lines that you read to get into character, or do you just like immediately like, are you just able to just slip into the character when you record?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think it depends. You know, there are some. If you walk into the booth and your first line is very emotional, you got to get there. You know, and I don't know about you, Justin, but I got to get there. It takes me a second. I can't just be like, boom. I've only met one person ever in my entire life who can just pull out any emotion instantly. And that was a French actor that lives in the UK and is insane, like, and he's 65 too, so he's been doing this for a while. But yeah, we got to get into it, and there are a variety of acting techniques that can help you do that. What I recommend is you study a whole bunch of them, and usually a couple of them work best for you. But yeah, I've used some things where you make up a scenario that's like really bad in your head. For like if you're sad or whatever, but the best thing is to use the character, whatever the character is going through, and to try and replay that whole experience in your head leading up to that point and try to get into it, you know. But sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's really difficult, you know.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and especially like I'm really a big advocate for warming up before sessions,
Also important.
making sure you pre-hydrate yourself and everything. But if I know that I'm going to do luck, per se, I'll know that I have to warm up to sort of the higher end of my register. So I'll take extra care to like do some scales before I go, or do some vocal exercises that open up the top of my range. And then I've been living with luck long enough now, luckily, that I can just sort of jump into whatever scenario he's in, because I know that he, basic traits about him that I can fit into any sort of puzzle. But yeah, basically, the work for me and luck is just sort of knowing where he sits and trying to make that as comfortable as possible for the session.
That's good. It's really nice doing a character that you've done for a while,
Yeah.
because you just know. You get in, you're like, I got this. I know him. Me and him are simpatico.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I do have a question. So could you share? I'm really interested in the vocal health.
Yeah.
Could you share like one, two, or three like key things that you really enjoyed learning from that seminar you went to?
Ooh, yes. I learned that it is very easy to give yourself a hematoma. So what that means is basically a bleed. Like you can make your vocal cords bleed, and it's possible. And it's bad, and it happens. It happens a lot with yelling. It is caused by overuse, for the most part. You can just use your voice a lot without a break, and eventually you will get like a little bleed. Most of the time it's like under the outer layer, and it's fine. It's not a huge deal. It happens. It's natural. But the problem is that causes inflammation. And then if you keep using your voice, and you don't allow it to heal and let that inflammation go down, then that will cause more damage and eventually scar tissue, which will change your vocal cord's ability to vibrate, which will change how you sound or what you can produce, and then you can't work, and that's bad. See Julie Andrews. What that feels like is a little different for everyone, but what I found fascinating was that is caused, I one time gave myself a vocal cord bleed from a single workshop from doing one thing, and it was a creature voice where I did this effort. And when you do efforts, grunts, screams, like moving heavy objects, I was doing an orc character, woohoo, very dangerous, you know, and you're always taught to push from your diaphragm. What you are not taught and what you should be taught is while you are pushing from your diaphragm, do not push from here too. Do not clamp your cords together and because that forceful pushing, you're actually pushing your cords together with muscles in your throat. That is going to give you a vocal bleed very easily. And you always hear push from the diaphragm, push from the abdominal support down here, but you never hear what to do with this. And that's where it's going to come from. The damage is going to come from you pushing this too much. So there's my little tip.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let's go way back there. How do we get started with voice acting?
Wow, yeah. I've been acting ever since I can remember, basically. My parents got me into, my parents performed when I was much younger. They did like dinner theater and community theater and stuff. So I was always sort of tapped into that community. And I found a love for it. So I kept exploring that thread. I went to like a performing arts school growing up. And I figured I want to perform, I want to entertain in some capacity. How's the best way to make a career out of this? Because young Justin was like, I'm going to Broadway.
Aww.
I'm gonna make it big. Which can still happen.
It can.
It
can. And, but I thought back to like cartoons, anime, video games especially, that were so seminal to me growing up and really made me the kind of person I am today. So I wanted to see if I could give back to that space at all. And I was in Dallas at the time, finishing up school, and some friends of mine were already involved with Funimation. They sent my information along, and I waited like a year and some change on a wait list, and they called me in one day for just a regular audition to see if I had chops. And I figured, well, this is my opportunity, let's not blow it. And I went in and they kept calling me back, thankfully.
And it's very easy to see why.
Yeah.
No, Justin, seriously, like, there's something about your voice. I don't know what it is, but there's this quality that when you hear it, I don't know for me what your experience is, but my experience is when I hear your voice, I'm like, I want him to win. I want him to I'm happy. You know what I mean? There's just like, it's so great. It's so great, Briner. I love it. But, so I did musicals as a kid. I was very involved with singing, and I was very competitive with singing in high school. It was a little extra. I was so extra.
I relate to that, absolutely.
It was like all-state choir. I'm gonna get first chair every single round. Let's go. You know, like, calm down, Brandon. It's all-state choir. And we do the musicals, and there was always like a huge rivalry between like the choir kids and the theater kids.
Yep.
You know, and I was like a solid choir kid actually.
Oh, I was a theater kid.
They didn't love me.
No. But I was so dumb. Like, it's all about the singing. The singing is the most important. No, not the acting. The singing. Like, oh boy, wow. But anyway, I did a lot of musical theater when I was younger, and then I did opera. I sang classically for a while. I sang in Europe for a little bit, and then I came back and I was like, all right, well that phase of my life is over. I'm going to be a serious adult now, and I became I started working in IT and tech, actually, and I went to grad school. I have a master's degree in information systems, like, but it's a good field to be in. It's cushy, y'all. I highly recommend, like, the tech world. I like it. It's wonderful. But in that period of time where I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this transition to tech, what am I gonna do with my life? What can I do with my life? How am I gonna survive? How am I gonna pay these insane student loans? I firmly identified myself as not an actor. Like, nope, I don't do this. I'm a software engineer now, and I write the code. And my brother started studying theater at Collin College, actually.
Oh, wow.
Doing their program, which is, and it's like a very well-respected program. And they were doing Les Mis. And they had open auditions. And at this school, anyone can audition for the show, not just students. It's like a community-based thing, but the professors are all like really hardcore actors. And my brother called me and he was like, hey, so I've got this audition, I'm auditioning for Les Mis, and Les Mis was the last show I did. I was a senior, I was Valjean, I was like...
Really? I played Valjean.
Really?
Yeah,
What?
absolutely.
It's a hard show.
Oh, it's miserable, yeah.
You're like, your voice is like, I'm dying. But I'd love to swap like Les Mis stories.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And so my brother was like, you should audition with me. I'm like, Jonathan, what am I doing? He's like, it'll be fun, come on, do a musical again. I'm like, Jonathan, no. And he said, well, that's too bad, because I already signed you up for a slot right after me, and he knows me so well. He was like, you wouldn't want to make a bad impression by not showing up. And I was like, I hate you, Jonathan. I hate you, fine. And I did. And I got cast as Marius. And I expected maybe, if I was super lucky, to get in like chorus or something. Because it had been like 10 years, 8 years, whatever. And so I did it, and it was just, it took off. I think actually Mike and Monica came back, asked them about it. It was, some people were really good in the cast, but some people were not. But you know, sometimes it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. Actually, some of the best performers in that show were the ensemble. Like captivating. You go back and you watch, and you're like, whoa.
Sure. Yeah.
The ensemble is very important to that show.
Extremely. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, sorry, winding. So anyway, I did that and kind of got back into acting and started doing like professional stage work in Dallas. And I still didn't think of myself as an actor. I was just like, oh, I just do musicals. It didn't matter that I was being paid for it. In my head, it was like, you're not really an actor. You sing. That's what you do. No. You know, I know. It's so messed up. It's so messed up. And then I was like, maybe I should understand acting a little more, because it's what Michael does. And so I started taking some acting classes, and then I understood. I was like, whoa, it's all about the acting. I mean, like, the singing is important too, but like, oh, it's about real, you know. And so anyway, long story short, Ian Sinclair, this is just so random, Ian Sinclair was working on Black Butler, third season of Black Butler, Book of Circus, and he had a character that the translator of Funimation was having some problems figuring out the dialect of. And he contacted me. Side note, I lived in Japan for a year working as a translator, so I have this knowledge of Japanese, right? And Ian Sinclair contacted me because I'm with Michael. My fiance is Michael Tatum. And so I knew Ian, and Ian said, hey Brandon, could you look this up for me? There's this dialect, we can't figure it out, whatever. And I was like, sure Ian, whatever. And I found the answer on Japanese Yahoo Answers, which is still used in Japan. Like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm on Yahoo Answers, like Japan. And it was a performer's dialect from Osaka that originated in the mid-1800s. And I was like, how did I find, what is this? Okay, here you go, Ian, cool. And the character was Joker, and Matt Mercer was the voice actor, and so they found like a similar British dialect and made it work. And he was like, hey, as a thank you, do you want to just come in and like voice the cats in the show? Just the cat sounds. And I was like, okay, sure, Ian, whatever. He thought it would be funny and ironic because Sebastian, who Michael plays, hates everything. He doesn't care about anything, but he loves cats. It's the one thing he loves. And I was like, I think that's perfect because Michael hates everything. It's the one thing that he loves. Anyway, and I got in the booth and he was like, oh, while you're here, do you have a British dialect? I was like, yes, do it for me. So we worked on a little bit and then he was like, great, you're Patrick Phelps in Book of Murder. Great, perfect, okay. And that was my first role. And then, long story short, directors came to shows that I was in and that's how I got other work.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah, that's
dominating that
a
answer.
great way. No, that's perfect. That's so fascinating.
It's just winding. Yes.
Okay, me?
Yes.
Okay. What is your favorite song from your favorite musical?
Ah! Hard to beat Suddenly Seymour from Little Shop. And the crowd goes wild! They say, yes, Justin, you're right! Suddenly Seymour. One of the best songs ever.
It's really hard to decide.
Right, right.
All right. Hunchback of Notre Dame, Court of Miracles by Clopin, the Gypsy Kid.
Yes.
Yes!
I played that role and it was fun. The Court of Miracles.
That's so good. Yes.
How does it feel to be a public figure?
Well,
I don't know, Brandon.
It feels like a lot of responsibility.
it is, yeah. I agree.
I feel like I feel like you feel this way too. I don't know. I would love to get your confirmations.
Sure, yeah.
But I feel like when someone makes the effort to come to a table that I'm set up at and like to get my autograph, I feel this very strong sense of responsibility to like be there for them. Like I'm here. Hello, thank you for coming to my table. I want to be here for you in return. You know what I mean? So that's what I feel as a public figure. That's so weird to say like public figure. I don't feel like a public figure.
I don't feel like it either. I understand that in some capacities we aren't. People know
Yeah.
of us and they
Right.
know our work.
Like
which is-
intellectually, that makes
yes,
sense.
it's hard to make the leap. Yeah, I feel the same. But it's very humbling to know that people know us for the work that we've done and even make the effort to come see us when we're available to. I think that's really amazing. So I feel a responsibility to not to be a positive force in fandom, to be giving with my attention and but also I do think there's sort of an element of I want to keep a professional boundary just so I don't let anyone down in some capacity. I want them to like the work that I do and relate me with that if they're gonna call me a public figure. I'll be like, it's Justin. Just Justin. It's just Justin. It really is. It's just Justin. But I do. Like you said, I feel responsibility to be good to people and make them feel welcome in this space that we all inhabit together. It's really special.
There's not enough love in the world. Who hasn't asked a question yet? I just want to make sure. Wait,
Is there anyone?
Is there? Okay. So if in the back, have you asked a question? You have not. I want to give you the opportunity to ask a question.
Do you ever find yourself acting like your Clover character?
In moments of crisis, yes. I definitely feel when I get truly passionate about something, I feel like Luck's joy and exuberance for sure. I feel like I understand that place of just unbridled passion for whatever your goal is in that moment. So I relate to that, not so much the rest.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult for me with Finn.
You like kids?
Kids are great. Yeah. But I was gonna say when I'm hitting on women, I try to respect their boundaries like Finral does. Doesn't really apply. But he is very accepting and welcoming, and I feel he's good to people.
He is.
He's good to people, and he accepts people for who they are. So yeah, I try to do that.
No holding back, no first
Luck.
Yeah, I feel like he wouldn't hold back.
And Finral doesn't have any offensive
Imagine.
Oh no, let me go to Starbucks. Want a latte? I'll bring it back. You stay here.
I want to be there.
Oh God.
You teleport him into Yami's
Golden time.
Calm down, Yami. Let's do it.
Oh no. Oh jeez. Yes.
I just wanted to ask you a question. For Asta, who do you ship him with? Considering.
Oh, but aren't he and Noel so sweet?
Okay.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Oh,
Yeah.
just a boy and woman who hates to love him.
It's so poetic.
Loves to hate him, both. Hates. Yeah.
poetic
I love.
justice.
I love Noelle. She's awesome.
It's real life now too. It's now real life because they're both engaged.
That's right. That's right.
So
Right,
it's
right, right, yeah.
so it's
Dallas and Jill is super sweet.
yeah. Dallas and Jill are engaged. Yeah.
I have two questions. At first, what character's magic would you want to have, and what squad would you want to be in?
My answer's gonna be so boring. I want Finral's magic, and I want to stay in the Black Bulls.
Finral's magic is a great power.
It's a great power. It's so utilitarian.
Yes, you can do. You can go anywhere. I would want probably. I like Yami's power a lot. I don't know, the darkness powers have always resonated to me like that, and Blackbeard and One Piece. I like that style. I'm not really evil enough to wield it, but, well, Yami's not evil.
No, it's a golden time.
Glorious gold. And I know that they're dysfunctional, but I just love the bulls. They have such a great, weird camaraderie.
Yeah. They have a place to belong.
Exactly, to belong. Sorry, I'll go. Mike, no.
Yes.
So, staying on terms of houses, which house would your character be in Fire Emblem 3 Houses?
Oh no.
Oh, I mean, you'd be a deer, definitely. The red house is
Black Eagles.
fascists. The blue house, Lonely Hearts Club. And yellow is meme time.
Blue House is Lonely Hearts Club, though.
Yeah, that's true.
But Finral is kind of like, he just wants somebody to love.
I hate to think that Luck could be an eagle, but maybe he would be. He loves to fight.
You beagle, I think.
He might be an eagle. Oh, is that horrible? No, there's a. It's no. Anyone who plays Black Eagles, it looks like I'm playing them next playthrough. They look so much fun. No. Blue Lions looks awesome. I really, once everything went down, I'm like, oh, can I pick these guys? Okay.
I gotta play it. I haven't played it.
So good.
I just
Stream it on
actually
Twitch.
Got me. Oh, I can stream it. I'll stream it.
Stream it on Twitch, please.
We were talking about our favorite video games when we were at the last convention we were at, which was My Hero Con, and we were talking about video games we liked. And I was like, man, Final Fantasy Tactics was just classic and awesome. And he was like, you should play Fire Emblem Awakening. And so I am playing Fire Emblem Awakening right now. And so maybe I need to play Three Houses.
It's so good.
Ooh. Okay. Yes.
So your favorite Black Bulls character except for your own character?
Yami. Yami.
I also
Golden time.
Yeah, I think Yami's my first. It's hard not to love Vanessa.
Mhm.
She's just, she's along for the ride.
Which one of the two do you think is going to be the Wizard King?
Look, probably. Sorry, Asta. I'm real happy for you.
I want Asta to win.
No, I'm rooting for Asta, of course.
I want Luck to win.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
What's your favorite female character in Black Clover?
I have a soft spot for Noelle. I also really love who's Mimosa, right? Mimosa?
Yes.
Yeah, I like her. She and I, we were in the dungeon arc. That's when I think she got introduced, and I remember liking her a whole lot in that arc.
I like Vanessa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, rules.
You had a question. You.
Okay, so if you could go into Funimation's computers and just change who was going to be recording what character that day, who would you do to what, and what would they do to you? Oh, you can actually do that, can't you?
You should. You could. Yeah, but I won't.
Okay.
I won't. Yeah. Ooh, that'd be.
Yeah, it's dicey. Yeah, a little bit.
Who would I switch? Oh. I want to hear Chris Sabat try to voice any of your characters. Any of them.
I agree.
It would just be a fun time.
Just switch him in somewhere, and I'll take over one of his. I'll go. I'll
Go to the time.
Let's go.
Okay.
Sure.
What's wrong with your voice?
It's a waste.
And then what would happen to us? Was that the other, like...
Well, you get to pick who you take over.
Oh, I take
yeah,
over.
You can be like, not mine.
Gosh, that's a lot of responsibility. What was the first thing that I thought of? Like, Sakura, Cardcaptor Sakura.
Yes!
I love it. I love it. I'm making the change right now.
Oh my god! How about you? How about you?
Yeah, I think I would want to be. I'd take one of Sabbath's. We'd switch. I'll be All Might. What you don't know is that I was the runner-up for All Might. It could have been me. So now we'll sort of finally right that wrong. I'm here. Oh.
Finally, All Might will be all right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh yeah.
Okay, so who do you ship your characters in Black Clover with?
It's hard to say. I ship Luck with like the Heart of Battle. I'm serious. I don't know. He has such a one-track mind about fighting, and it would be the one person to best him in battle. He'd be like, "Oh my, well I do declare."
Oh, I should know the name of this person. Okay, so relating to the earlier spoiler, the person who should be, I don't, if I say probably not. Okay. So the person that he was betrothed to be married to, I actually ship him with her. Because they're really sweet together. It's funny. And the woman who plays her, we're really good friends, and we drink a lot of rosé together. we do. So she got cat. It's Amanda Lee.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
she's
is
great.
it?
She's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get married! Yay! Brunch time.
She's great. That's super cool.
It's a good time. It's a good time. So yes.
So both of you having theater backgrounds and performing on a stage, and making that transition into recording and doing voiceover work, can you talk a little bit about how that transition was for you? Because you're not always, when you're doing voiceovers, if I understand, you're not always with the people that you're with.
Never.
Correct, yeah.
So how was that transition like, and was that difficult or easy, or?
I think coming from like a theater singing background served me so well getting started in voiceover. Just having that sort of vocabulary already established, having the knowing how to support your voice and breath control and everything goes such a long way, especially getting started. So I felt very well served by having that background. And it still comes in handy to this day. Like, the more that I learn about one form of acting, the more I can use those lessons in all kinds of other stuff. So yeah, it was vital, I think, for me to sort of get my feet planted with these companies, was having that background to sort of draw from. Because I didn't really know what I was doing once I got in the studio for the first time, but I knew my own process, and I knew how to adapt that to sort of the new situation. So yeah, I think any kind of performance or entertainment career path can only be better served by theater classes, singing classes, even improv goes such a long way.
Improv's
Yep,
super helpful.
absolutely.
Yeah. The recording booth is a very artificial space. You know, when we act, we are trying to create authentic, genuine interactions and reproduce them. But we're making them in an isolated environment, which is by its nature artificial. You know, and so if we are not familiar with what it feels like to go through these things, then how can we possibly be expected to reproduce that in front of a microphone? And so having a theater background, having that experience to draw from is so useful and so vital for creating these compelling performances. That being said, I found it very difficult, actually, because the way I worked was very much based off of my scene partner in all of the things that I did on stage. Because you can always react off of the other person. It's very natural. If someone says a line and all you do is react to that line, that's easy. And it's real, and it's organic, and it's great. But how do you do that in a booth if you're the first person to record? And there's just silence before you. You know, you have to have this rich, creative field of experiences in your head to draw from. And I think a great way of doing that is to have a theater background, because you've been through all these like weird experiences on stage with other people, and you can draw from that. So I find it really helpful.
Yes. Do you have any like a most memorable moment at a convention? You know, besides being on the staff.
Yeah, that ranks up there. Gosh. Yes, yeah. I was at Anime Expo, and I apologize for diverting to My Hero so often, but we were premiering one of the movies there, the movie. And we had some of the Japanese cast there, which I was very nervous about. Like, I'd never experienced meeting. I met my counterpart there, which was pretty amazing. Yeah, it's insane. But I remember we were premiering the movie in this huge ballroom, and before we started, the Japanese cast that they had there sort of came up to me, and they asked, do you think the audience is gonna like make any noise or react at all to this? Because apparently their cinema etiquette in Japan is very much like, don't make any noise, just watch. So I was like, yeah, I think a little bit. And sure enough, 5 seconds in, the room is already like blowing us out of our seats. So that was really special. It's just a nice little like, what we do is so isolating in some ways that getting to meet folks and share those experiences with them is really, really special.
My most memorable moment at a con was actually before I was voice acting, and I was interpreting on a panel at a convention in Hawaii between Michael and a Japanese voice actor. And so everything that Michael was saying, I was whisper interpreting into the Japanese voice actor's ear, and when he would speak to the audience, I would like take notes and then relay it over to the microphone. But the issue, I guess the funny thing that happened was Michael was talking about his experience recording on Borderlands 2, as Sir Hammerlock. Now, this character has a catchphrase that he says, and the catchphrase is Bonafide. And so, as I'm just whisper interpreting, I forgot the word for fart in Japanese. I could remember boner, but not fart. And you have to say both of them, or else the word doesn't make sense. I mean, like, as an interpreter, you have to translate it. You have to interpret everything, right? It's very high pressure. But it's also what the character uses to, like, curse in the game. Like, oh no, but he says, whatever. Okay. But without the context, how do you convey that? You have to explain it, but there just wasn't time. But I also forgot the word for fart, which is terrifying. Like, an interpreter's biggest fear is to forget a word. Now, luckily, there was someone in the front row. A lot of people speak Japanese in Hawaii. And there was a bilingual Japanese speaker in the front row, and I was like, what's the word for fart? Onara. thank you. So then I'm like, I've got the word now, Mr. Takahashi, and then Bukyonara. He's like, what? What did you just say to me? And I was like, it's Borderlands. Oh, do you have Borderlands in Japan? And then so the whole panel had to stop because I was like, okay, so there's this video game that's produced by Gearbox in Dallas, but I don't know if you have it in Japan. It's called Borderlands, and there's a character named Sir Hammerlock who's like this android or robot or whatever, and he tells you what to do, and then when bad things happen, he says boner fart. Does that make sense? And he was like, oh, okay. And then we moved on. All that had to happen very quickly, and the whole panel's like, what is going on? Why is this Japanese voice actor offended? You know, like whatever. But it was very memorable to me, you know.
Y'all, we have a couple more minutes left to do
two
more,
minutes,
literally
ooh.
a couple, to do like some lightning round questions if you want to, real quick. Yes.
What's your least favorite roles?
Ooh.
I can't. I genuinely do not have one. I love every character I play.
Yes, it's yeah.
Yes.
Random question. What do you think your character's favorite food is?
Coffee.
Yes. I just want to be anyone in One Piece. I want to be literally anyone.
I would be anyone in Evangelion.
Nice, yes.
Right, yeah.
Any other inquiring minds? Yeah.
Favorite villain from Black Clover?
I liked Veto a lot.
Vento, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I agree with you.
Fish sports. Yes.
What was your favorite characteristic about Austin? Personality?
I love that he will just beat his head against a wall until it breaks down. Like, he has the utmost perseverance and
Yes.
he will move mountains to make something happen for himself.
What would Asta do?
Uh-huh.
Will get you through so much.
Right. You do push-ups. Yeah. WWE. I think we gotta wrap it up, y'all. Thank you so much for joining